Istar, written and read by Steve Parker. Let's start with the room. It was odd. At first glance, it looked glorious, like all the tales you've ever heard about the abodes of classical supernatural beings. Enormous marble pillars, a floor shrouded in clouds, golden sunbeams radiating through an open ceiling, throwing gleaming highlights on a myriad of strange and beautiful devices. It's not until the second glance that you might begin to notice oddly mundane anachronisms amongst the glimmering beauty. A worn sofa, an old coffee machine, a grimy refrigerator with aged photos taped to its door. A man with similar properties of oddness and glory took up a grimy pot from the coffee machine and filled a coffee cup, printed in sun motifs, with a steaming black liquid which was probably coffee. The man wore sandals and a white and gold wrap around his waist. His dark skin was smooth and tight over his athletic torso, but what you would probably notice before all that was his head, which was that of a falcon. Perhaps you might spend a moment wondering how a falcon-headed man might enjoy a cup of coffee. Or perhaps not. Either would be understandable. It's not every day, after all, that one sees a man with a falcon's head. He took his cup of probably coffee across the room, which presumably had a solid floor somewhere under the cloud layer, and sat on the threadbare couch to join his companion, who was relatively normal-looking in comparison, though extremely handsome. He was also scratching a small cow between the ears, which I think you'll agree is unusual in any room. "Good morning," said the seated man.
"You're welcome,"
said his falcon-headed companion. The handsome man chortled amusedly at the shared joke, while the falcon-headed man sipped on his coffee, which is probably a feat better imagined than described. "Enjoy the credit for the sunrise while it lasts, my friend. Today is the day, after all," said the cow-scratcher.
"Don't remind me,"
said his falcon-headed companion.
"Good morning, all,"
tinkled the melodic voice of the most beautiful woman you have ever imagined. Seriously, think of the loveliest woman you have ever seen in your life. Well, this woman would have your dream lady weeping in envy and taking up a career as a marriage counselor. Because who wants an attractive marriage counselor, am I right? It was more than just physical beauty, though. Her graceful movements, her glimmering smile, the fact that she was wreathed in gossamer so thin which swirled in a way which delighted and tantalized, flowing over perfect porcelain skin while constantly promising to reveal all without ever actually doing so. Apart from all this, you could tell this woman was also a positive delight. This was immediately apparent in the way she skipped into the room, kissed the handsome man on the head, the falcon-headed man on the beak, and the little cow on its velvety nose.
"Good morning, Mithra, Horace, little cow,"
she sparkled delightfully. "Good morning, Ostara," said Mithras, with his entire being alight with adoration for the woman.
"Oh, come now, Myth. We won't be using that name today. Not today of all days. I am Istar."
Mithras crinkled his nose a little. He hated being called Myth, but couldn't deny anything of the goddess.
"Are you sure you want to put yourself through this again?"
asked Horace, equally smitten, but hiding it with greater ease behind his beaked face.
"Thank you for thinking of me, love, but yes, of course I do. You shall just have to learn how to share. This is my day too, you know."
"All right, Istar, whatever you desire,"
Horace replied. Istar smiled with the light of the world and headed back into the other side of the room.
"Ooh, lovely,"
she beamed as she poured herself a steaming mug into a golden chalice, which unaccountably did not immediately get hot and burn her flawless hand. "What's lovely?" called another voice from outside the room. Istar's brow crinkled into a frown momentarily, but almost immediately smoothed back to her usual smiling visage. A man entered with a huge grin on his face. He was young, early to mid-30s, with an olive complexion, dark curly hair, a full beard, and a golden ring floating just above his head. He strode into the middle of the room, jumped over the back of the couch, and landed hard in between Mithras and Horace, nearly spilling Horace's coffee and quite startling the little cow. "Hey, what's shaking, fellas? You know what day it is? Huh? Yeah, you know,"
Sunday?
said Horace. The new fellow scoffed. "No." "Spring equinox?" said Mithras. Now the couch intruder furrowed his brow in consternation. "No," he said more firmly. "Oh, the Feast of Pascha," said Mithras, barely keeping a straight face. "Don't be stupid, you know what day it is," said the new man.
Yes, we do.
Said Istar.
It's the vernal equinox, the rebirth of the world, the awakening from a long winter. It is my day,
she said happily, while twirling delightfully around the room. "Yeah, right," said the new boy. "Ask anyone whose day this is and they'll tell you. It's Easter. This is my day." "Bloody bi-millennials," said Mithras, clearly upset at what was just as clearly a very old grudge. "Okay, boomer. I'm sorry. Did your old church crumble in the dust at my coming, lo, and my many-splendored awesomeness?" laughed the new boy, a little disrespectfully, it must be said. "Pop!" ejaculated Mithras. "I was a god when you were still a sparkle in your father's testicles." "Whatever, dude. Your church was old when the Romans were still doing their thing," said Jesus. "Their thing," said Mithras. "Do you mean conquering half the known world, enslaving or crucifying thousands of criminals and rebels every week?" "People only care about one crucifixion," grinned Jesus.
Boys, come on now.
Spake Eostra melodically.
Do we have to do this every year?
"I don't," said Jesus. "This is a fight I won long ago,"
You're such a jerk.
said Horace.
You can't even share this one day.
"Oh, I'm sorry. Who are the people celebrating? Eostra? Ostara? Esther? Istar? Ishtar? Pasher? Masher? Donner? And Blitz? And what's your name again? I forgot,"
I have many names.
said Eostra, a little primly. "Really? Well, I have just one. Jesus. The whole world knows me," grinned Jesus.
Okay, Jesus.
Said Eostra.
Yehoshua.
Said Horace. "Lamb of God," chortled Mithras, while scratching his cow between the ears. "Whatever, you guys are just jealous," sulked Jesus, getting up from the couch and heading to the door. "Jealous of what?" called out Mithras. "Your marketing team! You might as well worship Hallmark and Cadbury for all the religious importance you've brought to this holy day."
It used to mean something.
Eostra said sadly, as Jesus flounced to the door, flicking a middle finger at the trio as he left.
We'd have a lovely big party celebrating the new life budding in the world. Feasts everywhere.
Reminisced Eostra. "I know," said Mithras, putting his arm around her comfortingly.
The winter was over and we didn't have to hoard food to survive anymore. Everyone would put on their best clothes and bring their best dishes.
Good times.
Said Horace, joining the other two in the middle of the room.
And they'd all shag everywhere. A great big shag fest. Sex parties as far as the eye could see.
Grinned Eostra. "That was before the We Love Jesus fan club brought in the big shaming, of course," said Mithras. "When sex was still fun."
Well, we can still enjoy the day.
Said Horace, loosening his wrap.
When are the others coming?
"Any minute now," replied Mithras, pulling off his robe to reveal his truly divine body. "The old gods never miss this day. Maybe a little more careful with the beak this time, though, eh, Horace?" Horace clacked his beak and laughed.
No promises.
Delightful.
Said Eostra, as she unveiled her boundless love to the universe and got down to really celebrating the rebirth of the world.